question, Mike.
All right, now you guys can go home.
Wait, he's thinking about budget.
Yeah, well, unless you want to stay for the budget presentation.
Yeah.
Take me with you?
Alan's here to explain it through Eureka math.
Can we get that in Alex as well? Maybe Alex as well. Multi.
Right.
I can do it that way. Have fun.
Oh, awesome. I'll leave. I'm not sure what I want.
Lou?
My dentist or that?
Lou?
Where's, we want Lou? Huh? Okay.
I was just going to ask him the same thing I asked
No. Okay, next up, reports and reviews. Wait, yes, budget, 2019-2020 budget presentation.
Well, that was a tough act to follow. Student government. Welcome. Tonight's the second presentation regarding the 2019-20 budget. We're going to start off with the points of pride. I think it's very, very important to continually point out just how many accomplishments our district has. I'm going to name a couple of them. I'm going to continue through, but it is a proud moment to actually show what the budget dollars achieve in the end. There were 2 national blue ribbon schools. High school is recognized as an honor roll high school by the College Board of AP Access and Performance. High school recognized as a reward school for exceptional achievement by New York State. Average of a 95% passing rate on all Regents exams. Advanced Regent designations rate of 64%. 95% of graduates attend college. We have extensive career technical education opportunities. As Mr. Passamonte pointed out earlier, there are a lot of scholar athletes in all of our athletic seasons, and there are a lot of all-American sports teams and athletes. Long Island and county, as well as state athletic championships. Even though Mr. Lauser is his own team, he does get the state champ, so it's an important piece. Students attending prestigious universities and colleges. District awarded the Distinguished AA Bond Rating, 2018-19 New York State Comptroller Fiscal Stress Score of 0. Revitalized and renewed schools due to a community-approved bond referendum. Strong community support for all programming from parent organizations, booster clubs, and community volunteers. Hundreds of students annually participate in the NYSSMA festivals and contests. 1,000 plus college credits earned annually by high school students. That value there equals dollars to parents who are actually saving on the cost of additional college credits. So it does pay it forward that way. National Automotive Skills Champions. Partnership with Columbia University for K-5 English Language Arts. Science research partnerships with prestigious facilities such as the Brookhaven National Laboratory, Stony Brook University, and Cold Spring Harbor. Those are some of the points of pride. Now there's, what is our value? How do we add up? How do we compare? In the pupil expenditure category, the Long Island average is a little less than $30,000 per student. We are a little bit above. There's an extra 8 there, and I apologize for that, but we are a little bit above $25,000 per student. This is actually making us ranked 61 out of the 124 districts that are on the island. We are about $4,000 lower than the Long Island average. The 2018-19 tax levy in 2018-19 was the second lowest on the island. As Mr. Poole mentioned in his superintendent's report, over a 7-year window, there were 2 levies that were less than zero, and our average is 1.80%. From a graduation rate standpoint, we are ranked 7th on the island out of 124 districts, ranked 25 out of New York State. There's approximately 700 school districts within this state, so being 25th is a pretty good ranking. 2018 special education graduation rate, we were ranked 1st in Suffolk County, another very, very important credit to the programs offered at SWR. And the 2018 Advanced Regents designation rates ranked 37 out of 124 districts on the island. I think these are all a testament to what the budget buys when it comes to student outcomes as well as expenditures related to students being lower than the Long Island average, but accomplishing all of the accomplishments that our students do. I think we do a lot with less. Any questions up to this point? Compared to the per pupil costs, we are, as I pointed out earlier, exactly where we would want to be, the highest when it comes to the graduation rate percentage, and for per pupil cost, right in the center. Prudent fiscal management, the operating costs for all programs, like any public entity, like any private company, costs continue to rise. They are rising on average about 3 to 5%, even in some cases higher. And we are able to bring the 1920 budget in at 1.57% from a year-to-year comparison. So even though costs continue to rise, we are able to deliver the 1920 budget, proposed budget, at a expenditure growth rate of 1.57%. While our operating costs have risen, the district, through declining enrollment, which has a direct impact on staffing needs, has been able to identify savings in order to support this low budget-to-budget increase. The average tax levy for the past 8 years, including this year's levy, is 1.80%, as I mentioned earlier. 2 years resulted in a tax levy decrease, and each year was at or below the allowable levy limit. 2019-20 proposed budget, it maintains all current programming. Anything that we're doing in 18-19 has funding provided for it in 19-20. It increases and enhances student offerings, allows for the purchase of replacement items. We are continuing to implement safety and security measures, and it also provides funding for one-time equipment purchases. Some of the program enhancements that are in the 2019-20 budget under the curriculum area: expansion of the one-to-one Chromebook initiative through grades 9 through 12, secondary reading intervention resource, achieve 3,000, middle school robotics curriculum unit, development of hydroponics science unit for the middle school, breakout EDU resources district-wide, an online high school newspaper, and new high school electives: independent research in science and engineering, peer mentoring art, peer mentoring music lab, adaptive physical education mentoring, foundations of a healthy life, and fashion design 2. Fashion design 1 was in the 18-19 budget. The students really took to it well, and the recommendation was brought forward to expand that program into a second year, a second type of curriculum, so it's part of the 19-20 budget. New extracurricular enrichment opportunities, as you saw earlier, the 2 student government clubs that were added to the 18-19 budget, they were received with great success. So both the elementary principals brought forward requests for additional elementary clubs. The Miller Avenue Club is the coding club, and for Wading River, we are adding the Bell Choir, the Newspaper Club, Play Pals, and chess. Play Pals was added to the Miller Avenue list of clubs this year, and now it's extending into the Wading River building for 1920. Middle school, we're even bringing Play Pals a little further. It's called Intermediate Best Buddies Club. Again, it's trying to make a K-12 spectrum, going from best buddies on the high school level all the way down to the kindergarten level. So it's an exciting growth in programs. High school, an extracurricular opportunity was added for SAD. In the area of fine arts, there is funding in the 1920 budget for replacement of the high school acoustical band shell, a fine arts consultant-based support for full review of enhancements of the K-12 art, music, and theater program, and student participation in the New York State Art Teachers Association Olympics of the Visual Arts. Under the athletic category, replacement of football uniforms. There are other uniforms also that are being replaced inside of the budget. There are basketball uniforms, softball, but this one was pointed out as it's been requested by the students to upgrade the uniforms as they are a little on the older side. So we wanted to point out this one clearly to let them know it is included inside the 1920 budget. We have added funding to create a new unified athletics basketball team and new online registration system for athletics. It is a program as opposed to the students, parents of the athletes filling out paperwork. They are now able to fill out all of the information inside the online program, allows for efficiency of entry, as well as notifications for when physicals are due, when paperwork is due, really has streamlined. We anticipate that it's really going to streamline the process. We are piloting a small version of it for the spring season and have seen great results, so we're very, very confident that it's going to greatly enhance as well as make the process a lot more efficient for the 1920 school year. Sorry for going backwards. And expansion of the temporary fitness center. For the 1920 school year, we are extending into A101 in order to make that space a little bit larger, in order to bring down additional equipment. There was an article done inside of Wildcat Paws directly by the students who have outlined some additional equipment requests, along with Mr. Passamonte and some of the physical education teachers. Together, we have laid out a plan of what additional equipment that we're able to outfit inside of that space in order to complement what was already done for the 18-19 year. Safety and security, we are going to continue to improve. Safety and security will always be at the forefront of any type of health and safety matters. Curriculum is always cutting edge. We are going to try to keep health and safety at cutting edge also. We are continuing to implement an integrated video door access and alarm management system. We are adding additional video surveillance cameras. We are adding additional perimeter fencing. We are improving emergency access, and we are installing night gates at both the middle school and the two elementary schools. Under one-time equipment purchases, there is funding in to replace a grounds truck, replace a warehouse forklift, as well as replace multiple interactive smartboards and projectors. Funding for a high-speed blower that we believe it is going to assist with the tick control process by, for lack of a better word, blowing the ticks from the sides of the fields. It is a high-powered blower. We're very confident in working alongside a representative from Cornell that we're very confident this is going to help keep ticks off of our athletic fields.
How often do you anticipate having to use that?
Once every 3 days. Rain will have an impact. If there's 2 days of steady rain, then I could wait a couple of additional days. But it is something that is going to be mounted to a piece of riding equipment. So it isn't something that will take a lot of time. If we actually deem that it needs to be done daily, it's something that can be done daily. It isn't we don't anticipate this to take more than an hour to do all the perimeters of the fields.
How much is that?
I don't know off the top of my head. I could get you that answer.
I'd like that information.
Okay. Furniture-related funding in order to purchase furniture for the high school summer bond work. As everybody knows, this summer we are anticipating renovating the high school main office, the guidance office, the nurse's office, in order to purchase the supporting equipment for that project. That funding should not be included inside of the bond, and it wasn't, so it is included in this year's operating budget. Equipment for the new middle school greenhouse that we anticipate will be constructed by the spring of 2020. Fixed mounted audio and visual systems for Miller Avenue All-Purpose Room and the Wading River Cafeteria. Funding to install cameras on the inside of buses, as well as a portable visitors booth to be placed at the entryway at the start of school in September to support the new parking lot plan. Any questions on this up until this point?
Glenn, I just had two questions. One was on the fine arts consultant. Have we ever done anything like that before for fine arts, specifically bringing in an outside consultant to kind of review the program?
Not that I am aware of, no.
Okay. So in this case, it'll look at it from K through 12
Yes.
across the board?
That is our intention.
Okay.
Yep. Rob, the cost is $7,600. Just so you know, it's just not going to be used for ticks also. It will also assist inside of the leaf cleanup. It is a high-powered blower, but the main focus is to support the tick integration tick remediation program without any type of chemicals or pesticides.
And Glenn, my second question was regarding the bus cameras.
Yes.
Is that system separate, or could it be part of an exterior camera for cars that are actually going around buses now to kind of capture them?
Currently, this system is not attached to the arm of the bus. There is a recorder. I'm pretty confident that it would just probably be the addition of another exterior camera versus interior cameras, but I did not ask that question specifically, but just using what I'm thinking is common sense, there should be no reason why I cannot extend that. The plan that that is included inside of the budget allows for a zigzag approach of cameras so that we're able to see into the seats, because they're all high back seats. So that tells me there has to be a means to attach more than one camera to this recorder. So with that being said, I would pretty confident that we could tie the exterior camera, but that is something that I can find out. There isn't funding in for the stop arm cameras inside of the budget, though.
Okay, because there's been a lot of discussion through NISBA, I guess statewide, in terms of trying to capture or at least record
Correct.
Vehicles that are passing, buses that have their red lights on. So.
Yep.
But that should be by, I would think, a governing agent who would then issue a ticket, not
Yeah, that's the
not the
complexity
school
too.
district.
Right.
How you follow that up. and
Yeah. So I mean,
You need DMV records, you would need to be
yeah,
able to.
there's a lot to it. I guess my question really just stands that if we were to, at some point, go down that route.
They should
you know.
actually standardize on buses, and then it would be a bus company would have to maintain that, and
That's one approach, yeah. The other approach was if the school districts did it, and then it goes back to what you're saying in terms of, where does the revenue go? Does it retain within the town, or does a portion of it go to the school district, so that's,
Who pays
but
for
that's
the-
not even
who
there.
pays for the person
Well,
to-
I'm just looking from a
yeah.
logistics standpoint, making sure that if we're going to do cameras inside.
Compatible.
If it makes sense.
That the recorder's
to-
compatible with that exterior
If the cost becomes very high, and it's just a different issue then, in terms of the camera system, but just curious there what we were doing.
I will definitely find that out.
Thank you.
It is important to continue to point out that the 2019-20 budget contains the second full bond principal and interest payment related to the 2015 bond referendum. Again, that is a testament to see how quickly we were able to complete work. We were able to capitalize going out to bond quickly, as well as obtain a very favorable interest rate. And we're already putting funding aside to make our second payment. I promise I'm not going to show the same pictures every budget meeting, so I've reduced it. This is the Miller Avenue Library. I think it's important just to highlight some of the completed work so that people know there is a little under a $3 million expenditure inside of the operating budget, and that also has a role in why the tax levy is 2.94%. Prodell Middle School Library pictures, high school library, high school auditorium seats. So the next budget presentation and all the other future ones, I'll be rotating the pictures out so that we don't see the same pictures. The 2019-20 tax levy limit calculation, this was presented on February 26th. Again, just a quick recap. It is based on a formula provided by the state comptroller for a 50% plus one vote. That's called a simple majority. We have no intention on piercing. The allowable limit for the district is 2.9640%. The district is not levying to the limit. We are a little bit below the limit. Calculation includes the following allowable exclusions: all debt service payments, the payment related to the $35.5 million bond payment, the payments for the 2 energy performance contracts. It also takes into consideration all anticipated pilot payments, as well as the exclusion related to the building aid based on the governor's executive budget run January of 2019.
Can I just ask a question, maybe for future presentations? Can you identify the expiration dates on those debt services, as far as when the payments are up?
Sure. Yep. Does anyone want to see the calculation in more detail? Here to answer any questions on it. It's just, I think I'm going to keep it in there in case there's someone that has a question, but I don't plan on going through it line by line. If there's no questions, I'll move on. 2019-20 proposed budget reflects a 1.57% increase. According to the Office of the State Comptroller, for a school fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th, they have the inflation factor at 2.44%. So it's really important to point out that using an inflation factor distributed by the Comptroller's Office, we are coming in with a budget-to-budget increase that is 0.87% less than the inflation factor. I think that's a notable point.
It's less, and you're adding all those additional clubs and...
Correct.
Great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Tonight, we will be discussing 93.21% of the budget. We will be covering employee salaries, employee benefits, district-wide expenses, transportation, debt and transfers, special education categories. Employee salaries, I think it's important, again, to understand our machines are our staff. So without staff, nothing is going to take place here. In order to support below-average class size, theater programs, mindfulness program, elementary tutoring program, extensive secondary extra help program, year-long community programs, full K-12 social emotional learning, after-school mental health support partnership with North Shore Youth Council, science research program, Nexus community service program, dual middle school sports, full-day kindergarten, elementary art and music program, summer program to support the arts and academics, extensive extracurricular clubs, K-12, school to community program, women in science and engineering, natural helpers program, extensive advanced placement programs, AP preparatory week in this summer, instrumental program beginning in grade 3, which is not common at all. Physical education program, K-5, exceeds the New York State requirements. Championship sports high school programs, exceptional special education programming, extensive high school electives, robotics program, AP capstone, and exceptional buildings, maintenance, and ground staff. In order to have this, you have to have salaries. Our salaries this year reflect a 1.74% change from 2018-2019 budget. It is worth noting that earlier this year, you guys, the Board of Education, have come to terms with all 3 bargaining units, so there are no open contracts. That shows a great symbiotic relationship between the Board of Education as well as each unit. Without those units, the academic results, the buildings, they all would not be as high as they are without some form of harmony between the Board of Education and the bargaining units. So I think it's, again, important to note, having all settled contracts coming in with a 1.74% year-over-year increase in salaries, and for a budget component that makes up 45% of your total spending, I think it's an important piece. Any questions on salaries? Employee benefits, an area where we have little to no control. Teachers' retirement system, employee retirement system, that is all based on whatever your salaries that you're paying. There is a contribution percentage by the employee that has to be made. We are seeing a decrease in our TRS contribution percentage. It is important to point out that TRS takes a 5-year average, and this is the best years on Wall Street where this is coming from. And they're already telling us we can expect a significant increase for the 2021 budget, but in order to budget this appropriately, we budgeted with exactly what the New York State Teacher Retirement System told us, budget at 8.86% of what your salaries are. So it's showing a decrease of 16.65%. For ERS, the contribution rate is the same as 18-19, so there really wasn't a big change there. And we anticipate the best shot that we have for 2020 of approximately a 10% increase in health insurance costs. With all that taken into consideration, this budget category has a reduction of a little less than $415,000. So if you look at salaries and employee benefits, you already covered 70% of your total budget. And these are all direct costs related to staffing.
Glenn, that 5-year average is what, 2014 through 2018?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Any questions on employee benefits? District-wide expenses. Funding the district-wide budget codes provides the means towards delivering world-class opportunities through, we have extensive BOCES career and technical education programming, instructional technology programs, extensive field trips and cultural arts programs, ongoing renewal of text collections, diverse college and career readiness activities and events, extensive co-curricular activities, instrumental programming beginning in grade 3, robotics program. You will see some carryover from salaries to this area because there's a salary component to some of these as well as a materials component. Secondary library maker spaces, theatrical performances, instructional equipment, as well as student access to wide-ranging databases and online resources. So there are services that are not building specific. So there are a group of budget codes that do not pertain to a building, but they actually pertain to services to support the entire district. This category covers Board of Education, auditing services, legal and fiscal agent services, property and liability insurance, central printing, public information, the district treasurer, the district purchasing agent, the district clerk, and district meetings, and judgments and claims. On the other side, it captures, for the instructional component, all budget codes related to instructional equipment, textbooks, supplies and materials, musical instrument repairs, field trips, arts and education programs, co-curricular activities, library books and periodicals, occupational education, BOCES, instructional services, guidance services, psychological services, and charter school tuition. In this large range of budget codes, we are looking at a $48,331 increase. It's about 1% change from the 18-19 year. It makes up this budget category a little more than 6% of the entire budget. We have reductions in the administrative costs related to BOCES, as well as textbook purchases. There was a large amount of additional textbook funding added to the 18-19 budget that was used as catch-up. Now that we are current with our textbook collections throughout the grades, we were able to reduce some of those budget codes to just get to a replacement as needed status. Funding has been increased to support the purchase of a new high school auditorium band shell, supplies and materials related to the middle school greenhouse, as well as contractual and related business office services. Any questions in the category of district-wide expenses? Transportation, we're seeing about a $600,000 increase in this budget code. This increase we aren't providing additional services. We are providing services based on our current transportation configuration. Has there been additional needs come into our district, be it private or parochial placements, be it special education services? Yes. That's what's contributing largely to this increase in transportation costs. In addition, it is important to point out that we have a CPI estimate increase in this code of 3%. We are, as the inflationary factor before was 2.44%. So there is an increase here that we don't know what that increase is until the end of May, beginning of June. It is a number produced by the State Education Department, tells what our transportation contract is allowed to increase by. So there is a 3% estimate included in these figures. The budget provides the funding, again, like I mentioned before, the current in-district and out-of-district transportation configuration, busing for all students, transportation needs for district-sponsored field trips, the athletic program, and there's always some contingent money inside of your transportation budget in order to allow for unforeseen circumstances. There could be an additional need for a private or placement student. There could be, between now and April 1st, April 1st is the deadline for a resident to request transportation to a private or parochial school. So there's always a little bit of contingent funding. It is less than $100,000, and a minibus is $55,000. So there isn't even enough in there for 2 full additional minibuses, but there's a little bit in that budget code, as there has been in years past. But it just continues to get tighter and tighter. The increased need, as I mentioned earlier, for out-of-district transportation, there were 6 minibuses added in order to align with what we are delivering for 18-19 services. The contractual increase that I mentioned earlier, and funding has been included to allow for the purchase of interior security cameras for buses. Any questions on transportation? After covering transportation, we are up to a little less than 83% of the entire budget.
It's just a question with the cameras. Is that a one-time equipment purchase, or that's it in the transportation budget?
That is a one-time equipment purchase. Anything after that would just be servicing and
Okay.
maintaining.
So the servicing is in this piece, and
No.
the purchase is in the other?
No, when I
Line?
say servicing, if a camera was to break, in order to purchase a replacement camera, we would put going forward a much smaller amount of funding in order to have replacement money for if a camera was to be damaged. But there isn't software maintenance, there isn't ongoing maintenance costs. Debt and transfers, what this category is what does the district owe? What does it owe money for? And where could it be transferring money to? So we owe money related to a bond payment. We owe on 2 energy performance contracts. We transfer funds to the special aid fund as well as the cafeteria fund. So this category makes up all of what's considered your debt and transfer budget codes. Interest on tax anticipatory notes, as I've mentioned here numerous times in the past, we don't begin receiving tax levy revenue until December, but operations begin in July. So if there's not enough revenue to support the expenditures between July and December, you issue tax anticipatory notes, and there's interest associated with that. So there's budget funds put aside for that interest. We've been fortunate in the years past that we haven't had the need in order to borrow, in order to make those operational payments. But as reserves are used, as funding gets tighter, it's always important to keep that interest fund in there as a just in case if we have to go out to issue TANs. There will be a point inside the future where we will have to issue them. How soon? I'm hoping not too soon.
What's the interest rate typically been in the last couple of years? I mean, I'm sure it's gone.